But he's the first president that sanctioned what the scriptures forbid.
We are our own worst enemy. Politicians, these folks that come, I told you, these civil rights workers have been nothing but hypocrites, from John Lewis to Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton. Now they come along and say a homosexual is just like a black. They don't have a choice in the matter. I ain't got a choice to put on a dress or a pair of pants. I got a choice. I could have got up this morning white, black, Asian, or Puerto Rican, or Mexican. How did you ever even allow their foods to come out of your mouth and say they're in the same pot we in? I said take the pot and throw everything in it out the window. That's right. The pot is infected. Yep. And we bought into the hype of this foolishness. They come along and say stop gay marriage, then run back and say, but give them civil union. They can get support, they can get benefits that you can't hardly get for your husband and your wife. Yep. What's the difference?
But he's the first president that sanctioned what the scriptures forbid. Now I want to ask a question, see? Why is it that all you politicians take your oath of office on the Bible? If the book is no good, what the hell are you using it for? To take an oath of office to uphold not the Bible but the Constitution. But the Constitution comes out of their recognition of the value of this book.
Available not just for a select few who are up and in, but for everybody, regardless of their race, their creed, their color, or their sexual orientation. And my brothers and sisters, I salute the president for that now. And my brothers and sisters, I salute the president for that now. I recognize there were those who were upset about this. I recognize that because I can't believe how many conference calls I was asked to participate in this week to discuss what the president had talked about. You should have seen preachers just scurrying and hurrying to call a conference call to call out the president for what he had declared, watch this, as a personal opinion. He said it was a personal opinion, but whenever you like to ostracize other people, it's because there's a fear that you have yourself, and the fear that you have finds itself rooted in an ignorance of other people, or it could be in a projection of your issues. Either there's ignorance or there is a projection of your issues. Because I've been tripping. Ask some of my colleagues. You know what? It really blows my mind how outraged you are.
Our president just agreed to same-sex marriage. Now listen, just listen. See, if you're in that behavior, now you're freezing up on me. I'm not your enemy.
That's right. That's right, brother.
I'm your brother.
That's right.
And I do love you.
Yes, you do.
I'm not here
That's right.
to make you feel bad because Farrakhan is talking and he may not be that. Well, Jesus said, if you offend in one thing, you offend in them all.
That's right there.
So the fornicator can't look at the lesbian or the homosexual and say, I'm better than you.
That's right. That's real. That's real.
The liar,
That's right.
the thief, the gambler, the pimp, the prostitute,
Yeah.
the low life, you can't look at those who are gay or lesbian and transgender and say, I'm better than you.
That's right.
It's sin is sin according to the standard of God.
Go ahead. Yes, sir.
You say, well, no, that was back there. It's a modern time now. Modern for you,
Come on.
but not for God.
Yeah.
God says, I am God, and I change not. Here, you just got here yesterday, and you can't find a birth record for God.
Come on. Yes, sir.
He's older than time itself.
Yes, sir.
You mean to tell me he doesn't have a right to tell you how to live the life that he gave you?
Come on.
Are you telling me that his sovereignty is nothing? That what society says means more than what God says? Then reverend, synagogue leader, Catholic priest, is this the book that you say you believe in? But now you backing down from an aspect of it because people will get offended?
Listen, now, think about this, all right? Come on.
You got Muslims now. I don't know how the hell they could call themselves Muslim. And they involved too. You know damn well they're not Muslim. They were set up by the enemy to create confusion in the rights of the righteous.
That is off to a wonderful group of African American pastors who released a tremendous press release that you might not get to hear about because the media doesn't want to do anything with this. But these are not just a few pastors. These are very significant pastors, many of them who live right here in Memphis. And I want to read the press release to you. I think, while we're talking about aberrations to legitimate marriage in this text, it would be a great time to talk about this, especially since it just happened. Here's the title of the press release: Civil rights leaders speak out against the hijacking of their movement, declaring that there is no civil right to do what God calls wrong. And it came out of Memphis, Tennessee. Let me tell you something, folks. God has marked this city for revival, and good things are going to come out of Memphis, Tennessee. Amen? Listen to this. A coalition of well-known and highly respected black clergy headed by the Reverend William Owens, founder and president of the Coalition of African American Pastors, CAAP, and other leaders responded strongly to President Obama's declaration of support for same-sex marriage. Reverend Owens led in the civil rights movement in Nashville, Tennessee, and he said he is appalled by the ongoing effort of GLBT, that's an acronym for gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender activists, to link sexual diversity to the historic fight for civil rights for black Americans. The coalition includes such noted leaders as, now listen, many of them from Memphis, Bishop George D. McKinney, senior pastor of St. Stephen's Cathedral, that's a Kojic church in San Diego, California, Bishop Felton Smith, senior pastor of New Covenant Fellowship, a Kojic church in Nashville, Tennessee, Bishop Brandon Porter, senior pastor of Greater Community Church or Temple, a Kojic church here in Memphis, Bishop Ed Stevens, Jr., senior pastor of Golden Gate Cathedral in Memphis. He's a personal friend of mine. I'll be preaching at his church, by the way, over on James Avenue a week from this Tuesday night. You ought to come over and join us. And then Bishop James H. Gaylord, senior pastor of Kelly Temple in Harlem, New York, Dr. Dwight Montgomery, pastor of Ansdale Cherokee Baptist Church here in Memphis, Dr. Chuck Singleton, senior pastor of Loveland Church in Ontario, California, Bishop Robert Jefferson, senior pastor of Cullen Missionary Baptist Church in Houston, Bishop Janice Hollis, presiding prelate of Covenant International Fellowships of Churches, and Reverend William Owens, Sr., founder and president of the Coalition of African American Pastors, Memphis. Here's what they said: we cannot, this is a quote, we will not remain silent while marriage, the most fundamental institution in our or any nation, is undermined by our own president while using Christian language and relating it to civil rights. We stood, we marched, we fought against racial discrimination as a moral wrong. It was a violation of the first principles of our faith that God created all men in His image, and the first principles of our nation that recognize that all men are created equal. For activists, politicians, and now the highest office in the nation to link sexual behavior God calls sin to the righteous cause Martin Luther King Jr. gave his life for is abominable in and of itself, declare these leaders with legitimate civil rights era experiences. Quote, marriage between one man and one woman was created and ordained by God. It is the only stable union in which women are protected and cared for, in which children are born, reared, and nurtured in safety, and upon which the very stability of our society rests. The propaganda spun today by moral anarchists who have taught our youth that sex is for entertainment and marital commitment is optional has brought death, chaos, poverty, and great harm to our community for decades, continued the leaders in their joint statement. Quote, the hijacking of the civil rights movement by homosexuals, bisexuals, and gender-confused people must and will stop. We fought for what is right. They are fighting for what is wrong. There is no connection, and the high cost of what we stood and stand for demands that we speak out against President Obama's support for this destructive agenda. Our God requires it, our nation needs it, and our people deserve it. We will stand in our pulpits. We will stand in the streets. We will stand in the chambers of policy making. We will stand in the ballot box for those who are for God's design of marriage and family. We will stand against all who are not, they said in conclusion, and we, like Martin Luther, the great reformer, in his crucible hour, can only say, here we stand, we can do no other. This fight for marriage and the family has just begun. And to that I say, amen and amen.
Have been a strong base of support for the president. Polls show they are more likely than whites who oppose same-sex marriage. That opposition has softened in recent years. But in Baltimore, Pastor Emmett Burns is so upset he publicly withdrew his support for President Obama Sunday and says the issue will cost him the election.
People I know, people come up to me are saying that they don't support this, they don't like this, they're disappointed with the president, and they plan to stay home.